is time for the good, the bad, and as the thing says, the brainless with the brainless one and Cousin Jay. What do you got for your good this week?
Subscribe.
I have to go to your wrestling spirit animal, Eddie Kingston. Putting the Ring of Honor title on him, having him defeat the man he's got problems with.
Partner.
Good for him. And a good booking decision for somebody who is constantly on cocaine. Thanks, Tony Khan. This was actually a brilliant moment. Thank you.
I know that I have put them in purgatory or they have been shunned.
This is Ring of Honor, technically.
Eddie Kingston. I'm sorry. Eddie Kingston gets my good for this week. There's no way I couldn't give it to Eddie Kingston. I almost wanted to watch that match alone on Dynamite just because it was Eddie Kingston. Because I had a feeling.
Technically a Ring of Honor match.
And I'm so happy for Eddie. I really am. The poor guy has gone through so much. You know, he left Impact and he went to NWA, and NWA kind of fell flat because of
Lagana.
Dave Lagana and, COVID and all that stuff. And he went and got an opportunity in AEW. And it's like, how do you not root for Eddie Kingston? How could you not? I am so happy.
He hates everybody.
I am so happy for Eddie to the point where him winning the Ring of Honor title and now being Edward Two Belts is getting a nomination from the Brainless one for my mark-out moment of the year.
Yeah.
So good on my spirit animal, Edward Moore, on becoming a two-belt champion, winning the Ring of Honor World Championship. What do you got for your bad?
There was a lot of bad and brainless that went on this week, and there are many ways I could have gone. I'm hesitant to go this way. I almost want to flip-flop my bad and brainless, but I'm going to go with the whole incident with Moxley and the end of that match, where he gets dropped on his head. They call an audible. He gets dropped on his head again. Like, the fact that the referee didn't count, it's like, okay, was the referee not let in on the fact, like, what was Moxley supposed to lose? Or, like, the dude didn't get his shoulder up. As the referee, your job, like, it's the performer's job to get their shoulder up. Not for you to make sure that the shoulder, like, or make sure the count doesn't happen. So there was a lot of bad that went on with that specifically. I really could have gone with that for my brainless, and I almost did make it my brainless, but there were so many errors specifically in that moment, in that match.
Okay.
Whether it be Tony Khan as the producer, did he stop the count? Say, hey, don't count him down. Was it the referee making a call on his own, like, hey, he's not supposed to go over, I shouldn't count this? And then Moxley, oh, we need to do an audible. Oh, by the way, he's got a concussion. Why should he be the one making the decision? It really could have been my brainless, but it's not. It is my bad this week.
See, my bad for this week is the WWE releases. Especially after they just announced right after the releases that even though they needed a pair, 100 people lost their job last week. Now 23, we just found out, and maybe more, have lost their jobs from the wrestling ring aspect of it. And then you go out and make this monster deal with USA. And, it's not like WWE didn't get a shit ton of money from this merger. It's not like this is a $19 billion company that can't afford to pay Madcap Moss. But it gets my bad for this week because it's bad. Because my brainless, I'm convinced that you and I have flip-flopped on bad and brainless.
Yeah, we have. My brainless is definitely WWE, and it has to do with the fact that like they more or less simultaneously drop all these performers and announce that they have made this ginormous deal. I know that Endeavor had to take out loans to make the deal happen. And I know a lot of these performers were not being prominently exposed on television and probably weren't going to be prominently exposed, but like, I understand you own the company and it's your prerogative to hire and fire people, but it just looks so damn bad. $1.4 billion, and you're going to get more for Monday Night Raw.
Yep. And if you're not going to
get, you got to drop all these people, really. And oh, by the way, there's probably going to be a couple of performers that we really like whose contracts end up expiring. And like, we don't want to pay somebody that much money.
Oh, we'll let all these people go, but we'll bring back Nia Jax as well.
Ugh.
See, I'm sorry, Jay. I got a 3-way tie for my Brainless.
Okay.
I have to give one Brainless to Rey Fenix because you dropped a dude on his head. He was concussed, and because the referee had to kick, for whatever reason, the referee was a fucking moron. You decided to call an audible and do the exact same move and dropped him on his head. That's just careless and reckless, and now you're the international champion, and you got a whole mess of heat on you. Number 2, I give it to Rich Knox, the referee. You need to watch the wrestler and not read the script. I don't care what the script tells you and how the match is supposed to go. If you see a wrestler go down and he is basically a lifeless carcass, trying to keep the match going is not a good idea. By the way, I remember a couple of years ago during the pandemic years, they had a 4-tag team, like a fatal 4-way tag team match where I know the Young Bucks were in it. I want to say Angelico and one of those, whatever. There was a couple other tag teams, but I remember Alex Reynolds and John Silver of the Dark Order were in the match. And there was a spot in the match where I think the Bucks did the leg drop and they landed on Alex Reynolds' head. And he stayed motionless in the ring for 45 seconds. And the referee did absolutely nothing while he was in there to try to get him out. Who was the referee? Rich Knox. He needs to go.
What makes me think, clearly Rich Knox is not the referee that was in that match with Team 3D when they were in Impact Wrestling when the ref was supposed to take a ref bump and they missed by a country mile hitting him, but he still took the bump anyway.
Rich Knox should not have a job. I'm sorry. And I know the fact that the only reason he has a job is because he's friends with the Young Bucks. But that's just bad. That is just bad. And on top of it, I got to give it to Tony Khan. I'm sorry. You're trying to run a wrestling organization and you're trying not to make your dad lose money on his investment. Your dad wanted to give you this money so you can go and you can do and have fun with it and all this stuff so you could enjoy it while he was still around. You have now, for years now, been avoiding the fact that you don't have a performance center. You have untrained wrestlers and people are getting hurt on a regular basis. To the
They've
point
been trained
where
on the trampoline in the backyard.
They're also training at the Bubba Smoke Wrestling School and Barbecue Pit extravaganza where you can get a wrestling tryout
Daly's place
and a tattoo and a plate of brisket at the same time. But the fact is that to a point where people are taking clips of the people getting hurt, and you're filing and having these videos taken down because it shows how negligent your stars are. And to top it off, if you were the person that said that Moxley, even if you weren't the person who said it was Moxley, you definitely had a way of saying like, well, you're in the gorilla. You are where Vince McMahon and Triple H are. So clearly, whoever had said it, because I'm sorry, I have no idea who said it, that said that Moxley had gotten the concussion in the brawl before the match. Why was somebody who was concussed in a wrestling match?
It's not quite Sting versus Jeff Harvey Victory Road. if that's the truth. But
Jay, come on. I understand that, them coming out with the money and then they're releasing all these people. But come on. I would love to sit here and keep going for like another 3 hours to try to convince you that should be your brainless over, the releases and then the announcement of the extra money. But I'm not going to do that.
It was a very close call for me this week. I really I was contemplating even when we were getting into this, like maybe I should switch them. But
Jay, what happened to Moxley on Wednesday, and I actually feel, believe me, when I feel bad for John Moxley, that says something. That, as my brainless this week, was Secretariat in the Belmont Steak in 1972. There was Secretariat, and the camera pans back, and everything else that could have been brainless finally got into the scene. That on Wednesday with Phoenix and Rich Knox. Rich Knox is probably going to end up getting my brainless moment of the year. Is the front runner heading into the clubhouse for my brainless moment of the year.
All right.
So if you like what you see, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter/X. Follow us on Instagram. And subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like and follow, subscribe to us. We will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And just chiming in, Tim said The Rock returning with McAfee was his good. Bad was WWE releases. And Brainless was WWE releases with the announcement of the signing of the new TV deal. Anyway, make sure, though, that you set up notifications so that when we go live on the Facebooks, you will be notified that we are live. Also, make sure you like us over on Spotify, so that way, if you're on the road, you'll be able to take the podcast with you, whether it's on Spotify, YouTube, or the Facebooks. We just want you to be able to join in with the chat and talk about our favorite sport we all love to hate, pro wrestling.
Yeah?
Yeah!
And how Ray Phoenix tried to kill John Moxley, who was a father and a husband.
Twice.
And possibly the third concussion that night that he suffered.
Right.